Welcome back, IQ Ninjas. In our past video, we discussed some of the colonies leading up to the American Revolution: Jamestown, Roanoke, and Plymouth Rock. Thanks for joining QB today as we learn the factors that led up to that ever-famed event, the American Revolution. When we last looked at what would soon become America, it was 1620. The population was 2,302. Virginia had been fully established as a colony, and Plymouth Rock was just getting settled. Now we check back at 1770. There are 2.15 million people on the North American continent. Virginia and Plymouth have expanded to 13 colonies: New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Wool, tobacco, and slaves are booming industries in these lands. We must establish this one ideal before we continue. There are stories that the English people came to the New World to seek religious freedom, or start a new life, or escape the overpopulation in Britain. And while some of these are true for the individual people, the main reasons the Virginia and Plymouth companies sought land along the eastern coast was for money. And when I say Virginia and Plymouth companies, I mean just that. The colonies in America were founded most strictly for revenue, and while Americans think of the colonies banding together to fight off unfair British reign, each fighting side by side, protecting each other from the evil that was King George III, the truth is far messier. Each of these colonies are owned by a separate company, and competing ones at that. It was as a last-ditch effort that these companies banded together to fight off British reign, but it was a last-ditch effort that would change the world in ways no one could ever predict. Let's start at the beginning. 13 colonies, each making money in a specific industry. King George III sits on a throne in London, but he's not the only one. France lays claim to areas in modern-day Canada, Ohio, and the Midwest. Spain holds tight to Florida, one of its only colonies in upper North America. Even Russia had colonies along the western coast. And with all this blood in the water, it's sure to create conflict, which it does. In 1754, when longtime enemies France and Britain both claimed to own parts of the Ohio River, war breaks out. The French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War, was really fought all over the world. The matchup? France, French colonists, Spain, and several Native American tribes versus Britain, British colonists, the Iroquois Confederacy, and Portugal. Britain led an attack headed by Lieutenant Colonel and spy George Washington against French colonies, one which failed horribly. France and Britain both dragged their colonies and allied Native American tribes down into the arena. France beat Britain badly at the beginning, but after the tables showed signs of turning, France signed an alliance pact called the Family Pact with Spain. The kings of Spain and France were cousins. But despite this, Britain continued to win. After Spain unsuccessfully attempted to invade British ally Portugal, England won the war. But success caused more harm to the British country and crown than loss ever could. The war sent the country spiraling into debt, and King George reasoned that since the war was caused to protect the industries of America, those same industries should pay for the damages. Anger arose from that declaration, and that anger would cause an even greater fight and an even greater declaration. But that fight would come gradually, and a few things took place beforehand. The English colonists did not want to pay those taxes and refused. What did King George III do? Well, he piled on the taxes and decrees. It started with the Proclamation of 1763, which prohibited colonists from moving across the Appalachians and forced every colonist who had already to return east. 2 years later, the Quartering Act was passed, which required colonists to house and feed soldiers in the colonies. Some of these soldiers committed terrible atrocities to the families they bordered with, which angered the colonists even more. 1765 proved to be an even worse year, with the passing of the Stamp Act, which not only raised the tax on stamps, but required their presence on every legal document. In 1767, the Townshend Acts were put into motion, which raised the tax on tea, glass, lead, paper, and paint. Some colonists boycotted these items, while others took a more serious action. On December 16, 1773, American colonists dressed as Native Americans and boarded a British ship harbored in Boston, throwing 45 tons of tea overboard, costing British merchants over $1 million in today's money. 10 days later, Philadelphia citizens boarded the ship Polly and politely told the captain that if he didn't sail back to England, they'd tar and feather him. A year later in Yorktown, a tea party took place that mirrored the Boston one. This resulted in fines upon some colonial cities, as well as more acts and taxes. The First Continental Congress met on September 5, 1774, to speak of grievances against the British government, and it was just 226 days later that the Battle of Lexington and Concord took place. Massachusetts militia versus British redcoats. Someone fired the first shot, the shot heard round the world. But that's a story for next time. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and go to quantumblackboard.com to watch more videos and to become an IQ ninja.